Well, hello. I think Vicky is caught a little bit unaware there. We are live, my lovely.
I was too busy on the chat. Hello, welcome. I was like, we've got the chat. Hello, and welcome to our first ever live, as you can tell. You see, I always need to do this beginning every time. If you ever see our indie game spotlight, you can guarantee I've done the intro at least twice. So thank you for joining us, those of you who've joined us today in the chat. Today's all about Untold Destiny. So what the plan is for Dean and I to wax lyrical about our own game. And you can ask us absolutely anything you want, and we will actually answer it as we go through. So don't be afraid to ask us. So, what we're going to start off with is a nice high level overview of what is Untold Destiny. Because you've heard us talking about Untold Destiny for ages. We've been wearing the t-shirts, we've been going on to shows, we've been talking about lots of things on X and on Facebook. But how much have we actually said about Untold Destiny? Not enough. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. And over time, we're going to expand on this. We're going to go into artwork. We're going to talk about our artists. You know, we're even going to get some people to come along. We're going to have a whole stream where we're just going to sit down and create characters. So there's lots planned. We're going to do this weekly, aren't we, Dean?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, I get to ask him questions now. It's great fun. So we're going to do this weekly. There's no such thing as a daft question. If you guys want to know absolutely anything, then we will pick that up. But I want to start off with a really nice thing, which is what is Untold Destiny and why do we keep calling it Classic Roleplay Reimagined? Dean.
Right. Well, Untold Destiny is a fantasy system that uses multiple d20s to hide the mathematical probability of your character being successful at something behind a simple dice roll adding your attribute. It is classic roleplay reimagined because we all have a love of the classic age of roleplay. But as much as I put the rosy tinted glasses on and I look back at those times, there were things that irked me, and I had heavily house ruled systems. So instead of taking something like first, second, or basic and then heavily modifying it, we said, what if we were starting fresh, but using that kind of the feelings we had back in the day as the foundation? What would we change? What do we think would work better for the kind of games we want to run? Very character focused, story driven, campaign based gameplay. And at a very high level, that is what Untold Destiny is about. If you want a system where your character has a lot of depth, has a place in the world where the creation of your character effectively creates your backstory at the same time, and then you can just flesh it out a bit more. And it has that, if you've played some of these classic systems, there will be a lot of influences that you will see there. I'm pointing to saving throws, which we'll talk about in a bit. And the way saving throws are done is a direct draw from the classic systems of old. So yes, it was. We started from scratch, and I say that because the reimagined bit was I kind of, because we've been playing fifth edition.
I'm going to interrupt you at
Go
that
on.
point.
Yeah.
Because even though Untold Destiny is now absolutely from scratch, originally we were talking about a 2E clone.
I was
And
just coming on to that, but you
I
carry
know,
on.
but I'm interrupting you. But originally we were looking at a 2E clone. At one point, we thought, should we do something for 5E? And we rapidly decided not to after playing a high level game because it didn't support high level play. And it became really evident. Oh, that's a good question. How many iterations? Are you going to class all of their changes there, Dav? Yeah, we're going to get there. So we started off going, well, we want to have a game that's suitable for campaign play. We like long campaigns and we like to go from low level to high level. So it turned out that we couldn't do that with any of the other systems. And that's where Dean started digging into how we could do it ourselves and create the game we wanted to play. Didn't you, Dean?
Yes, the very first iteration of this was heavily influenced by second edition,
Very.
and we even had Thaco in there and stuff like
Did.
that, and it became
I
very
can't do
apparent
maths.
anything that was causing slowdowns at the table, not adding value for the effort you had to put in, was quickly identified and quickly changed, and that's where the reimagining came in. So I always like the idea of your, like your strength having a bonus to hit, a bonus to damage, and all these different things depending on what level. But in reality, when you're around a table, that adds a lot of bloat. That slows the game down. And what is the benefit of doing that? Compared to what we're used to now, which is an attribute that has a modifier. It's hard to justify what that benefit would be. If you're after that kind of a game for that real old school feel, then yes, by all means keep that. But we were after something which was a lean, mean engine to drive the character story forward, to drive the campaign forward, to drive the adventure forward. So yes,
So
sorry.
no, go on.
Uh,
So
s- yeah,
so if we were going to actually answer the question, how many iterations have we been through?
yeah.
So that would be, yeah, Dav might be able to chime in on this one as well in the chat, but I'd say we're probably on about 20 plus iterations, including all your. It's not really a change. We're
Well,
talking about, because if you think about where it first started, and we actually even started playing around for Untold Destiny with Pathfinder at one stage. If you go through right from those early days where we played around with Pathfinder, went through, it's probably taken us a good 20 iterations. But since we really started saying, right, we want to do something that we want to bring out to other people as well as other than just our table, I'd probably say we've gone through about 6 to 10. So I'd say 20 in the lifetime, 20 plus in the lifetime, but 6 to 10 since we seriously sat down and said, we're going to actually bring this to you guys as well.
yeah. During our playtesting, we were filming the playtests, Business Unusual, which is on our YouTube channel. I was doing the editing. So as part of editing, I was picking up things in a lot of detail that weren't working, that were causing delays, that were processes of calculations that really didn't add anything to the game. So this is where we started with armor class because it sounds like a great mechanic. You're up against an armor class, but then we layered the player being able to defend themselves through dodging and parrying. And then that dodge and parry became very much the core mechanic, and we were still checking for armor class. And one of the big iterations we had was I got to highlight Dav's.
I can't do it. He won't give me the power.
Oh yes, we'll sort that out. Yeah, I noticed there was a step. You were rolling your attack, and then you were saying, "Have I hit the armor class?" Yes. Now are they going to defend? And instead, it just became, "I've rolled an attack. My attack is this good. What are you doing? Because if you do nothing, I've hit you. Yeah, you're just standing there doing nothing. So you got to decide how you're defending." By streamlining all of those, each iteration became better and better. We got rid of a load of the chaff, a load of the stuff that just added unnecessary calculations. So our skills used to be an attribute modifier plus a value depending on the rank of the skill. And then that had a d20 on it. And I got rid of the modifier and made it multi d20 instead. So if you're proficient, you roll a d20. If you're an expert, you roll 2d20. A master is 3d20. And you can also become focused in a skill for 4d20 or adding another d20. And instantly, it means when you're creating your character, you've got less maths. your skills are just how many dice you roll. So as you're creating the character, your background is, happens to be an alchemist. So I've got some training in alchemy. So I might be, an expert in alchemy, which means I've got 2 dice. I then get my first level proficiency points to spend. I'm going to become a master in alchemy. Instantly, I've got 3 dice. I roll the 3 dice, take the highest, and add my intelligence to that because alchemy is an intelligence-based skill. It's that simple. I say simple. Vicky doesn't like it when I say simple
I don't like
because
like
it's not
it's,
it's not simple. It's very straightforward, but it's built to have a lot of depth.
so there's quite an interesting one here,
Mm.
which is how deeply did we go into the maths versus feel via play by throwing the mechanics at the wall? And I love that because that was one of the reasons when we were doing business unusual that so Dean did an awful lot of maths work in the background. And when we first started filming Business Unusual, I would honestly say it was throughout that. And that's why David has said 20,000 iterations, because he poor guy had to turn up every time we were filming. It was like, and these are the changes this week. And so Dean did all of the stuff in the background. So he's got some charts, he's got some very clever things that he can put up on the screen to show you what he did, and I will let him explain the maths. I didn't really get involved in the maths at all. I let that be sort of Dean's area. However, when it came to playing, that's when we all fed back what was working, what wasn't working. Now, we took it to the UK Games Expo 2024 and we got a lot of good feedback. But it was the business unusual where we realised what was slowing stuff down. And this is his percentages. Look, isn't that shiny?
I was just going to move to a better screen. I've got a better screen set up for this.
Got a better screen.
There we go. And we will do that.
No, you need to
we're
move
going
over.
back to that.
You need to move
there
over. You didn't do that right, did you?
I didn't. So
No.
this is my spreadsheet chart showing how the multi D20s alter your percentage chance of success given your attribute modifier. And attribute modifiers typically go from 0 all the way up to +10 if you've got a 20 attribute.
Yeah, there's no negative attribute modifiers in Untold Destiny. They're all positive.
Yeah. So effectively half your attribute is your modifier. So if you've got an 18, it's a +9. If you've got a 20, it's a +10. And you can see by adding just 1 dice, the percentages change quite considerably and in a very interesting way, where if you've got a low attribute, adding a dice actually gives you far more of an increase than if you've got a high attribute. It tapers down as you get up to the higher levels. And when you add the boons and banes, so adding a d6 or subtracting a d6, adding a d10, subtracting a d10, instantly you're now shifting your modifier up and down and altering those percentages. It's a straightforward mechanic, but it hides a lot of complexity, so that every time you're using a skill, it's as much as it might feel guaranteed, it never truly is guaranteed. And you've always got that chance. Yeah.
Could you just move over to my share, please? Because I think it might be a bit better.
I will do that now.
We're experimenting here, guys. We've not done this before. Yeah, that's a bit better, isn't it?
Is that a bit better?
Yeah, because it's in the middle. I like
it's in the middle. Ah, yes. You've just taken a snippet.
I stole it.
You stole it. No, that's my intellectual. No, anyway.
I have the power.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want that. Can I have a +18 attribute?
You can't have a. Well, I went up to a +18 modifier. In theory, that would be like a 36 attribute, and our attributes don't go that high. They do not go that high. And that was purely to see how those percentages eventually ended up at the top end. But you think about it, most average is 5. So if you've got an average intelligence, you're that alchemist who's got 3d20 when using the alchemy skill. You're not that clever, but 2 times out of 3, you will always succeed at the task you're doing, barring any additional modifiers, boons and banes.
And it's definitely, because you look at this maths on the screen and you think, but the beauty is when you pick up those dice and throw them. Now, I think I'm going to stop sharing that now because we don't need to see any more percentages on the screen because it's all maths.
It is all maths.
It is all maths. That's your thing.
Yeah.
But what I love is when you're actually throwing those dice, it actually means something. Now, I've just noticed that Paladin Steve has said some people see negative attributes as necessary, even fun for role playing, as having a character who isn't just pure awesome. If we have no negative attribute modifier, is there something else in place? Well, you might not be trained in what you're doing. And that's where you throw 2 dice and you take the lowest. So essentially, even if you might still have a +1, you might even have a 0, but you've got to take the lowest dice. And that when you look back at those percentages, the 1d20, and I'm going to quickly put that back on the screen again so Dean can get all excited about his numbers.
Hang on.
Not
Is
yours.
that the one you wanted? No, that's
No,
that's fine. Yours.
Mine.
2
Mine.
seconds. Sorry. Technical issues.
Mine.
There we go.
Technical difficulties. Yeah, if you have a look at the 1d20, you have to be talking about just to get a 50% chance, 50-50 chance of doing it, you've got to have a +9 in your attribute.
Yeah.
So your modifier needs to be +9. And what is the stat for a +9 there, Dean?
That would be an 18. So you need an 18.
That would be an 18.
If you're proficient, that means you've barely got training. You know the basics. A good example, yeah, athletics. I'm really strong. I got an 18 strength. I know the basics of athletics. I'm trying to climb a cliff. I got a 50% chance of climbing. However, if the cliff has a lot of handholds, I'd probably have a boon to that. So if you shift that up by 3, because you could on average get a +3, it goes from a 50% chance of success to a 65% chance of success. And this is what I mean by the maths kind of gets hidden in the background. A lot of systems that might use percentages or D20s will have modifiers of plus this, plus that, or those modifiers are put into the DC. So this is where, from my point of view, running the game, the one thing that I hated doing was having to come up with DCs all the time. A player says, I want to do this. I want to investigate this. I want to have a look at that. And I'm there having to think, okay, right, average is a DC 15, but this is easy. So there's a DC 10, could be fine. Hang on, but now it's more difficult. So are we now up to DC 18? And that was causing me a lot of fatigue, is how I call it. And I wanted to get rid of that. And that's where the boon and bane comes in. So we got 4 levels of adjustment from normal. Boon, greater boon, so adding a d6, adding a d10. Bane, greater bane. Subtracting a d6, subtracting a d10. And they just cancel each other out if you've got multiples. So typically, you've got this fighter, they're only proficient, they're trying to climb a cliff. I have a look at it and I go, do you know what? The cliff is, there's lots of handholds. It's not a 90-degree angle. You've got a greater boon to that. However, it is raining and the raining gives you a bane. You've now only got a boon. So it's a quick way of adjusting the difficulty without having to go into maths. And then you just roll the dice. And Cyrus said, have we got some dice to roll on the demo? What I will do is boot up, I think, Vicky, we meant to. Next time, we will actually have a camera pointing down at a dice tray so we can roll physical dice.
Yeah, unfortunately, I ended up working late tonight. And by the time I actually finished work, it was like, ooh. So we are planning on actually having another camera over a dice tray so we can just roll dice. Yeah. So we will do that next week. Promise you, we will have that. And the other thing that Dean's going to have to do on his spreadsheet, which he hasn't done, is he hasn't shown the percentages for where you're rolling 2d20, taking the lowest.
No, I didn't do that because, to be honest, the way that works.
Doesn't want to.
No, it didn't add anything. Yeah, you're going to be terrible if you're not trained. But with
Sci-fi snob says more charts. We've also got we want
yes.
some lines, we want some colour.
Right, hang on, because I got if I
Oh no, no. Have you
more
been
charts,
colouring in?
more
You
charts.
want more charts? All right.
2 seconds.
He's you've oh god.
So
Yes.
these were my damage adjustment averages and stuff
I
like that.
forgot
So I
about
could
this
make
one.
sure each of the classes had their core role within the group. So a player didn't, if a player was playing, for example, a fighter, they knew they weren't going to be the best damage dealer, but they will have a lot of toughness, a lot of armor. They'll be able to stand in the front ranks and take damage. Anybody who joined us yesterday for Trouble Comes in Threes would have noted Jack was playing a ranger and he was front line, absolutely hammering into things. He had his ranger spells. He took the verdant sphere, and verdant is all about life and growth. And he was getting temporary hit points. He was getting this trickle heal coming through. It's not a lot, but it can make a big difference. So he was, as a fighter, front line, not doing, I mean, he was doing decent damage. But when the invoker started to unleash her fireballs and magic, that's where the damage came in. So, but then the invoker is a lot squishier, as we found out with the Barrowite fight.
2 wounds. I have 2 wounds.
Yes. But I had to go through when deciding what the dice numbers were going to be and how the damage was going to scale. This is what I used to tweak and to go through. And the reason why this is so important is because, as you've seen from the first chart, where your training is the only thing that makes you get better. So it's not like fifth ed where you start with a +2 proficiency and over the levels it eventually becomes a +6. If you create a character and you are mastered in a skill and you then also get the focus, you're rolling the maximum number of dice you can, 4d6. That's never going to get better. Your level going up doesn't make that better. You're as trained as you can be. Now, you may pick up tricks that apply to that skill, ways of using that skill. I'm thinking more combat in a more efficient manner, in a more damaging manner. So you might pick up cleave and then whirlwind, and this is the experience coming in. You are the master swordsman, but you lack experience. And as you gain levels, you get to add more tricks and more bonus features. The other thing you get is your damage slowly goes up. And damage is the big differentiator between being low level and being high level. And damage, as we found out, I think I got 2 lucky hits with the Sawn ones
Own
against
ones, yeah.
Sown ones against Brass's character, his paladin, and he lost over half his hit points really fast because his armor he messed his armor didn't save him. He took a load of in fact he couldn't use his armor because it was a spell ranged attack. So your hit points can disappear quickly, and it's that damage that makes the big difference between I'm low level, I'm high level. It also means if you are high level, a bunch of orcs that might be 1 or 2 hit dice, their attacks are still punchy. They can still hit you quite hard, and you're expending stamina or taking damage. And then they're going to wear you down. So even at high levels, it gives you that kind of, and this was one of the things I was going for, that kind of Lord of the Rings feel, where I'm powerful, but even the low level creatures in great numbers, they're going to take me down. So I've still got to be careful.
So as this is a family show, we're going to put away the Excel spreadsheet.
Yes, let's hide that now. There we go. And I'm just leaping back up to finish the question, the feel was a very important part of balancing the game and adjusting what we had. There was some times where on paper we thought the mechanics looked sound, they looked great, we did a few tests, and then in practice they were okay, but there was a feeling that was missing, and then I'd go back to the drawing board.
There was one mechanic that I'm going to just highlight that we started off with that I have to say I loved, and that was we did rerolls for damage. And at the time, we were rerolling. I think it was dependent on your attribute. You could reroll 1s, 2s, and 3s. But then after about 3 or 4 games, we actually were like, well, all of our damage dice just seemed to be hitting around the same all the time. And I remember when first time, because when we go for a walk around the estate, and that's normally when Dean goes, thinking that we need a change. Right. Every time. And I'm
Yep.
like, no, no more changes. And we have a discussion about it. And I remember when Dean brought up about the rerolls, and my initial reaction was, but I really like the rerolls. But when we then when I sat back and sort of thought about it, it was like, well, yeah, actually, because my damage always seems to be about the same. It's removing some of that good roll versus, oh, my dice hate me today sort of rolls. So a lot of that was based on feel. And I'd say that everybody who's been involved in playtesting the game has fed back if something feels clunky.
Yeah.
And I think we're at the point now where I'd like to say that you're not changing anything.
I'm not changing anything.
You're not,
We're
because I'm
just
editing.
going through the the editing and now firming up the creature rules. But from a player's point of view, no, we're not changing anything. It all feels right. It feels. It doesn't feel like a burden. We ran a top level fight, 20th level characters across the board, and the fight was just as fast as it
And
was at
fun.
low levels, and
Yeah.
just as much fun. And that
And the
was what
same
I was
amount of
after.
danger.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And that's what I like. I love taking a character from we're going adventuring right the way up to I'm almighty powerful. And I like developing my characters. I like getting into them. And I love the fact that I can now see that I can hit those high levels without it basically crashing and burning at about between 9th and 12th level, which for me is really important. Now, we've got a lovely question here about, are there plans for a DM screen, and will the system be mostly playable from said screen? Now, I'd like to say that we will do a DM screen, and everything that you need to know about running the game can be put together really simply, so a newbie can play it quite fast.
yeah.
So we will do that. Mind you, we've been rolling in the open. So Dean does all of his roles. We've always had a DM screen up until now, but now he does all his roles in the open. And it was something we started. We've got cat attack over there. Something we started when we started Business Unusual because of the play testing, and it allowed everybody to see what the roles were. Then when we did the high level play test, we continued it. And now we've just continued rolling out in the open. So you can use a DM screen. I certainly think we will design one and make one available with Untold Destiny. But you don't have to use it if you don't want to. Oh, that's a good question. So is
Two,
training in game?
yeah,
What
two
does the party
seconds.
do?
We've got no one
What's
on Twitch. I'm going to take Twitch off the stream
yes?
because it allows us to now do this. So
Oh, that's much better.
Twitch, you're not allowed to show comments from other platforms on Twitch. And we got Twitch as part of one of the ones we stream to. No one ever sort of goes on to Twitch. So I'm not breaking their terms and conditions by coming off and allowing us to see comments as we go through. So I think this is much better. And we can even, if I...
David is saying he's heard me say there's no more changes before. Yes.
Yes,
If
yes.
the at D4FP is Dav. He's one of our playtesters, and he's been with us from the beginning of the playtest sessions after we finished the 2024 UK Games Expo stuff. So,
Yeah.
so
I'm
he's
just checking.
experienced it all the way through.
I think I'm right that DLSD_25, that's Michael. I
You're not supposed
believe.
to out people, but I thought I'd out Dav because,
Yes. So, if you're referring to the d20s, your level of training in the skill decides whether you're rolling 2 dice and taking the lowest, rolling 1 dice, or multiple dice and taking the highest. And it's as untrained as 2 dice, proficient, so I got the basic training as 1 dice, expert 2 dice, keep the highest, and master 3 dice, keep the highest. If you're focused, so focus is a way of, it's not training, but it's an inherent focus in the skill. So typically your heritage will give you a focus in certain skills because it's part of your heritage. You excel at those skills without necessarily needing training, and that just adds a dice. So if you're not proficient but you got a focus in that skill, you roll 1 dice rather than 2 dice and take the lowest.
So I quite like this one on dropped mechanics. So we're going to pull a Richard Witters and include some of the removed tools as widgets in the back of the book. I actually think I'm gonna lean towards the end of your statement, which is no, they weren't fun, so they've gone. We burnt them. They're in the ether. We're not going to put them in mainly because we don't want to introduce confusion. If it has gone through lots of testing, it has gone through some brutal rewrites at times when it's been like, but we like that mechanic, and it's gone. Resurrecting, just like death in Untold Destiny, is not happening to those rules. They are now gone. Mind you, my crit came back. Remember?
Yes.
You got rid of my...
This was, we were still balancing damage at the time, and we decided that a crit would be a d10, an extra d10 damage. And at the time, it was just overpowered. It was too big. It caused the damage numbers too. But after I'd readjusted all the damage, I then looked at crit again, and I turned around to Vicky and said, "You're going to be happy. Crits are back in."
And the best thing about our crits, and I am going to wax lyrical about this because I love it, because we've got a multi D20 system, we've got a beautiful little mechanic. If, say, for example, you're rolling, what are you doing? You're getting all confused at where I'm going on the screen. Stop it. So where was I before you so rudely moved me around?
There we go. That's better.
Spot the fact we're doing this for the first time.
There we go.
So where was I? Crits. So if you're rolling, say, 3d20 and you get 2 of those come up a 20, that means you add 2d10 to your damage. If 3 of them, you get 3 d20s come up all 20s.
Or a 19 and a 20 if you're wielding a heavy weapon. They have a better chance of critting.
If you score 3 or more crits, three crit dice, you get 3d10. And it's just awesome because it gets really exciting when you crit.
Yeah, it also feeds into the fact your training is making you so much better at what you do. We also have critical fumbles. So if you roll a natural 1, it's really bad. And if you're if you're well trained with a weapon and you're rolling 2 or 3 dice, your chance of rolling all ones is incredibly low. So I think it feeds beautifully into that. But if you roll a 1 on your attack, it can be pretty terrible for you. I'm just going to go back to the DM screen. The view from my from my side, any information I need to look up will be on a DM screen, and it will be a lookup screen. When I'm running a game, I do not want to refer back to a book. So the way the skills are done and everything like that, we got guides on boons and banes, but it's up to you. You make the call. And once you've done it a few times, it'll become quite natural. What will be on the screen will be things like rogue skills, where there are certain boons and banes depending on certain criteria. And things like the stealth tables, travel tables, and potentially some random encounter tables, stuff like that. So yes, the DM screen will provide you everything. So hopefully you're not going back to a book.
So yeah, of course, what does the party do while you're training? It's not one of those systems where we make you take time out to train. It's all done as part of leveling. so you don't have to take a bunch of time out. The whole point of building the story around what you're doing is you are naturally learning things as you go. So you're not going to have to, it's not like, was it 3.5 where we used to have to take time out for, I remember there was one
Second
system where we
edition.
did it. It was second, was it?
Yeah.
Where we used to take time out for training. And we did consider it at one point, didn't we, Dean, for this?
Yeah.
We did talk about taking time out for training. But because we're all about adventuring and stuff like that, and the fact that you've got a really deep character creation methodology around it, which we will get onto. But the character creation is quite deep. So you've got rhyme and reason for everything you can do. We didn't feel that we needed additional training mechanics throughout the game. It sort of slows things down and lots of people don't enjoy it. So, and we just wanted to play.
Yeah. And this feeds nicely into the next question. And I'm going to share our Master at Arms if I just bring it up. Okay, so if I just hide that for now. Leveling. Sorry, honey.
Sorry, the cats were catching me unawares there. No, because then we block the screen.
No, we do block. So hopefully you can all see that. And what you've got is when you're first level, you get given a number of bonus features, combat proficiencies, general proficiencies. If you were a class that had access to rogue skills, you'd also have rogue proficiencies, and then some class abilities. So some of this all looks familiar to other systems, but these proficiency points, as you go up the levels, you'll see every now and then. So for the Master at Arms, every level they go up, they gain a combat proficiency. So they can increase one of their combat skills by 1 rank. There is a limit on how many mastered skills you can have, in that you are only allowed 1 mastered general skill and 1 mastered combat skill, but there are ways to break that rule. And one of the ways is simply, if you're a Master at Arms and you've got focus in a combat skill, you can master it without it counting against your limit. Say you're playing your Master at Arms, you've got all the skills you want. Are the remaining points wasted? No, you can save up 3 points and convert it into a focus on one of the skills that you have. So there's a lot of versatility. You get a lot of skills to begin with, and then as you level, you get this trickle of training coming through. And it is assumed that you're out in the field, and that's what's allowing you to increase your ranks of skill. You also get hit points when you gain a level, but it's only a hit dice. So if as a Master at Arms, you have a D12 hit dice. So you get a load of hit points from your constitution at first level, and then you get 12 hit points. Typically, it's the maximum of your hit dice. If you're playing the gritty, low fantasy version of the game, you roll that first level hit dice and add it to your constitution. So you start off with a good lot of hit points. You're very durable, but that's purely because I hated first levels where the trope was always, I spent hours creating this character. First combat, the orc critted me, dead, creating another character. And I hated that because most games would skip first and second level. They'd go straight into third level and start from there. So effectively, at first level, you've got everything you need to survive. Combats are still going to be very challenging. And then as you go up the levels, you get this trickle of hit points that make a difference. Then as you know, you get to 5th level, you got a lot more hit points than you did at first. By the time you hit 10th level, you got a really good pool. But you're not reaching the levels that some other systems had. So in the last 5th Ed campaign we played, I had a barbarian player with over 400 hit points. And it was just a ridiculous amount of hit points. It just took all the fun out of the fight because the next highest hit points was sub 200. So they more than double the hit points of anybody else in the party. And it just made things a bit silly.
So because we've got a character sheet question above, I'm going to let you go rummage for the character sheet so we could talk about that. But I'm going to answer some of the other questions whilst you do that. So So that's it. You do that and just get ready. Not yet,
Yeah,
but
that's
ready.
fine. If you let me know which question, I'll pop it up on screen. And
Oh no, because I'm going to talk about some of the others.
okay, off you
Um,
go.
I'm telling you to get that ready. What? Yes, it doesn't listen.
I'm
See,
getting it ready.
selective deafness.
Sorry, what?
Anyway, so Cyrus Wright asked, during testing, did we find we had assumed something that the play testers didn't get? Yes. I'm trying to remember. It was when we were doing Business Unusual, and it was right at the beginning of Business Unusual. There was something we all struggled with, um, and we thought when we first started it was dead easy, but for some reason it just didn't work. And it was ditched such a long time ago that I can't even remember what it was, but we got rid of it. Remember, Em and Robberly,
Robberly.
Robberly. Yeah, can't even name them properly now. Uh, yeah, it was something to do on the rogue side that caused some challenges, and we ended up changing it. But there were a few things that we did have to ditch just because it was worked on paper but didn't work in reality. So yes, we did, and we assumed it would all be okay because we got it, but that's because we played it right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So actually, bringing new people in who hadn't been on the very early journey with us was really good, because then you had to go through that sort of learning curve, and you saw what worked, what was easy to pick up, and what didn't work.
A good example of this is when we started, our stamina-based abilities
That's it. It's the stamina. Thank
varied
you.
on the number of stamina, and our spells you could uplift by putting more spell points into them. So, for example,
Yeah.
I want to do a cleave attack, so make one attack but hit 2 targets with a melee weapon. It would cost me 3 stamina. The next bonus feature up from that is whirlwind attack, which you need cleave for, but you can now hit all your enemies around you, and that was, I think, 5 stamina to use that.
Yeah.
And
We ditched that.
that caused so much slowdown because people were looking at, they were having to
To
remember,
look it
okay,
up all the time.
yeah, a dodge was 3 stamina, but a parry was 2. For good reasons. Dodge allows you to get out of the way of more attacks than a parry does. But it was confusing, it led to slowdown, and I came up with the idea, let's just make it 1 stamina. And I did that because my creatures, I was constantly looking up what my creatures were spending stamina on. And then as a test, high level test, we went, I put them all as 1, and it worked incredibly well. And we rolled that out to the players, and it works incredibly well. The same with spell points. Your spells now go at the maximum level of your character's level, rather than you having to uplift and decide. Because again, it was a decision point a player was making, and often, I think Emily was playing her wizard at the time, Xander, and I was constantly going, are you uplifting? And she was always uplifting, always putting the most into it. And it was like, okay, spells cost 1 spell point, and they are always cast at the the best
Highest.
level that you have. Yeah, your
Yeah.
highest level.
And it was stuff like that, stuff that, because we'd created it, it was second nature to us. If you were new into it, it was causing confusion. So we ditched anything like that. And the difference in the gameplay was just fantastic. Do monsters get crits? Yeah, they do.
They
You only have to
absolutely
watch
do.
Dean in any game, and he's constantly critting us.
Yeah, and it crits pretty nasty because when you land a critical blow, it cannot be dodged or parried. Okay, so there's no way to defend against it. And if you try and bring your armor to bear, so armor doesn't have an armor class. Armor has a rating, and this could be as low as 2, 3 for your Gambian or your leather armors, all the way up to around about 13, 14, possibly 15 for your full plate. So full plate armor, it's got an armor rating of 15. Roll a d20, add your armor rating. If you get 20 or higher, and this was something else we haven't mentioned, all the DCs are 20. So whenever you're rolling a skill or doing anything, you're looking for a 20 or higher, saving throws included. The exception being if it's an opposed roll, and combat is always opposed rolls. So when you make an attack, it has to be opposed, or you win. So a crit bypasses all those defenses. You get additional damage. And if someone's using armor to try and gain resistance, so armor reduces the damage you take from weapons, they have a bane to that check. So they roll a d20, roll a d6, subtract it. But yeah, monsters crit.
So I like this one. I like this next question.
What is it? The if,
Yes.
then,
Yes.
else, and, but,
You know,
or, zor?
I like that because it reminds me of electronics when I did it when I was young. My Boolean algebra. How streamlined is the DM player resolution tree? Deep options are. Hang on, I was reading that
Sorry. There we go.
because that's nice. 'Cause it's big writing and eye mold. And deep options are great, but does anyone actually know how when segments come into play? Any Untold Destiny play loop acronym? I really like that question. It feels very natural. Yeah, you can put it down now if you want to. It does feel natural, and I'll let Dav argue in the comments if he doesn't think it is. It does feel natural. I'd say the biggest challenge you've got is if you've got two players who can react to something, or you've got multiple players who can react to something, and basically you all want to do it. I think between the DM and the players, it tends to run really smoothly, and it's pretty straightforward. It's you attack, you defend, you can interrupt, and that's pretty much the route, isn't it? I don't think I've missed anything there.
No. And
Attack,
yes,
defend, interrupt, react.
yeah. My camera has been a point of real issue because when I bring it up, it then hides the monitor, and when I've got it on top of my monitor, it looks terrible. I don't know what to do with my camera other than when I'm talking, just talk direct to the camera. So I'm looking at you, lovely people in chat, but then I can't see what's happening on screen. But yeah, I do take that. I need to find a better place for my camera to go. Yeah. There was something. So streamlining, yes.
We always look at the screen. You look at the camera.
No, I don't. I look at the screen, which is why the comment. People are always looking up at me and I'm looking over them because I'm looking at
Where
the
is
screen
your
and the camera's down. My camera's at the
I
bottom here.
I keep telling you to put it at the top. You never
I
listens
had
to
it.
me. I'm just
I'll put it back up at the top for the next one. Right. Streamlining. Let's get back on track. Streamlining. Yes, there was one of the biggest areas of streamlining was combat. And
yes.
it didn't go as far as having the if else and stuff like that. We have a reaction based system first of all, and the reaction is things like when you're attacked, you can react by dodging or parrying. If you've got things like punishing strike and an opponent dodges, you can activate your punishing strike and attack them, and you just deal damage to them. That system took a lot of thought and had to be streamlined so that it worked very quickly. You could do your interrupts, resolve your interrupt, and move on. So things like riposte. Riposte is an interrupt, which is I succeeded at a parry test. I deal half my weapon damage to the opponent. So there's no attack rolls or anything like that. It's a very quick, I'm spending stamina, I'm dealing damage. So that was number one. Number two was combat. And it was a strange thing in combat and something I noted, which is we have a number of status effects. And you would have seen this if you watched Trouble Comes in Threes yesterday, because they were up against a Barrow White. They had dealt
That hurt.
burning damage to it, I think at one point,
I was
bleeding
picked on.
damage. And
Picked on I
you
was.
were picked on, yes. And these status effects would typically, at the start of your turn, you take damage, or this happens, or that happens. And it was slowing combat down because I came to a creature and I'd have to stop. Hang on, start of the creature's turn. What do I need to look at? And then we had other abilities that would give you temporary hit points or give you little bits of healing. And at the start of players' turns, they would forget. So I came up with something which we tried and immediately adopted, which is everything that was at the start of your turn became at the start of the round. So at the start of a combat round, it's considered admin. Right, guys, round two, get back any hit points from spells, get any temporaries, get all your benefits from stuff going on. Are there any conditions then that need to be resolved, like bleeding? Let's resolve them. Any ongoing damage effects? And then any durations have come to an end. And then you go into the combat round itself. So everybody has their turn as you go through. And it makes that combat round so much faster. You're not having to jump out and think, hang on, has something happened? Is something affecting me that is at the start of my turn? And I think, Vicky, you might, and Dav, you might have comments on this, but I think that was one of the
Well, Dav's put on there that there was a point where we did that those quality of life changes on reactions, because remember we did get bogged down at one point,
we did, yeah,
where it was like where it was constant, and like one of us was doing an interrupt, then someone else, and that's where it's like it's one interrupt per trigger, and it just has sped it up, and it's just much better now.
yeah,
Because we started getting lost. It was like, well, whose go is it now? Because we'd actually gone round so many people interrupting, we'd forgotten whose turn it actually was because we were just so busy doing stuff.
yeah.
So yes, that was a definite good quality of life change. Thank you, Dav, for reminding us about that.
Yep.
But that's one of the reasons that playtesting is so important.
Shall we return to proficiencies and how they look on the character
Well,
sheet?
have you got it ready to show?
I have.
Woo!
Right. Hopefully that's okay. Can you all see that? I will zoom in a little bit on that.
I think you need to zoom in a little bit.
So if I focus on the top, let's make sure that looks okay. Yeah. Your skills are represented on the one side of your character sheet. And you got your general, combat, and rogue skills. As you receive training, so say I pick a character creation option that gives me a proficiency in alchemy. I'll tick the first box. I then pick another option, background. I'm now got another tick, another proficiency in alchemy. I just tick that. I then got some points to spend. A point is a tick on any of the skills that I want to choose. The master, the rank of master, I can only have one skill that is mastered. But again, there's ways of breaking that. Gnomes get to have 2, and all wizards get to have, I believe, 3 masters, but only if they're intelligence-based skills. And that is it. So if I'm looking at things like I want to be really good with shields, I could receive some training. I could then master my shield. And depending on the class, I might get some focuses for free.
I think the most important thing to point out is you see those ticks. Alchemy, that's 3d20. That's all you need to remember. 3d20, and you'd add your intelligence bonus. That's it.
Yeah.
That's as easy as it gets.
When you're creating a character, you're simply ticking boxes as you go through and make your decisions, and the character sheet just fills itself in. There's no maths and stuff like that has to happen. And then, as Vicky said, at the end, how many ticks? Those are how many d20s.
And it's even got to the point where we've even considered just removing, because we do write in at the moment 3d20, but you can actually get rid of that because you can tell at a glance how many d20s you've actually got.
Yeah.
So that might be something that we change. One of the things that I would say is that I think, could you scroll down a bit? I want to see if we can show the volume of that's all of the skills. All right.
Yeah.
Everything you've got there, that's all of your skills. Right. And if you're not a rogue or you haven't got a background that gives you access, perfect. Thank you very much, honey. And if you haven't got access to rogue skills, you won't have any of those. You can't just go and decide to have rogue skills if you haven't got access to them. You have to be a bit roguey in order to do it. So if you look at it, that's all your skills. That's all you need to worry about. So it's nice, and I'm not using the word simple because I tell Dean off for using it. It's non-complex. It's not complex. But at the same time, it really does give you that mathematical depth that makes it really sort of edge of your seat.
Yeah.
So the fact is, that's all you need to worry about.
Yeah. And then
And
you're rolling those dice and adding the attribute value modifier. That's it.
I said that. I said
Oh,
that.
fine. Sorry,
Did.
I was
I
busy
did.
reading
I did.
comments, so I'll repeat what Vicky says and claim
Doesn't listen.
that it's mine.
Have you noticed?
Yeah.
Hear no evil.
Mm.
Selective deafness.
Yes, the character sheet was quite something. We went back and forth on it quite a bit. As a joke, I went, let's see if we could put this on one page, and we managed to squeeze the character sheet onto one page, but it was tight. There wasn't much room in there.
Well,
Equipment on a second page. Then, yeah.
it was really quite funny because we'd actually done a thing on Facebook, hadn't we? We've got to tell the story. We'd done a thing on Facebook, and I'd made this sort of pretty sort of booklet that opened, and it was a bit animated, and it's 1 page, 3 page, or 5 page character sheet sort of thing. And lots of people said, "Oh, we only want 1 page." Dean and I looked at each other and went, "I can't do a 1 page character sheet. We've got too much information." And then you did it as a test, didn't you? You
I
tried,
did.
and you did, and we actually used it for a while. Apart from my moans, because I like writing on my character sheets. I am old. I like my pencil, and I like my rubber, and I like to fill out my character sheet. And unfortunately, I had to write a little bit too small in places, and that annoyed me. But yeah, especially now, there's no hassle at all because it's mainly ticks and a couple of numbers.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can see one down here.
Oh, which one?
We sometimes forget that not everyone speaks TTRPG lingo. How does someone who's never played anything fare better or worse than an older player? Well, David answered that one earlier. His son actually came along to be a playtester. Poor kid. We subjected him. Now, he was a 5e player, and he picked it up like a duck to water, which was great. We've taken it round role play clubs, and they've been fine. We had a couple of people right at the early stages who played it at UK Games Expo. We had a couple of role players give it a go, and they enjoyed it and picked it up really easily. And it's got, in my mind, a lot more streamlined since then. So people do tend to pick it up quite quickly. The hardest thing about Untold Destiny, or the most complicated piece, is character creation, because we have a lot of in-depth options that, funnily enough, requires you to read, right? Or just roll dice and take what you get, dependent on how you like to play.
Yeah. Right. We had a question on
Question.
spells.
My favourites. Oh, spells. I hate having to memorize spells. I love playing spellcasters, and I hate memorization. It is the most annoying thing ever, that especially as you go up levels, that you are supposed to be this fantastic spellcaster, but you don't have that one spell because guess what? You didn't memorize it that day. So there is zero memorization. If you know your spell, you know your spell, which I love. We have spell slots, not spell slots, spell
Focus.
points.
Spell points. Yeah.
We have spell points. You have the spell points given to you by your class, which is then bolstered by your attribute. That's the number of spell points you have, and that's what you get to cast. The beauty, and what we haven't covered with Untold Destiny, is that after every encounter, you get all your spell points back. So you can enjoy yourself. You can throw around those fireballs if you do so desire. Because if you're going to, as long as you just have a tiny break between combats, and it is literally a sort of, "Ooh, that was hard work." Right, are we ready now, guys? and you're back to full.
Mhm.
And that is, so you have your spell points, you choose your spells, you get, how many is it? It's, where's my, go up,
Oh, so this one
up
was
first.
your wisdom
So there
modifier,
you go.
half your wisdom modifier plus 2.
That's a cleric, that's not a wizard.
You want the
We're not
wizard?
talking about
Hang on.
clerics. Yeah, of course I want my wizards.
There we go. It's the same. Intelligence.
Thank you.
Half
I know
intelligence
it is.
modifier plus 2.
This is my favorite class. This
Yeah.
one here, the Abjurer that he's got on screen. Now, this Abjurer, you see, I'm allowed to gush about this one because I made it. The well, actually, I came at the premise and then you actually turned it into something good, I think is the fairest way to describe it. I played in a 5th ed game and I played an Abjurer and I have never been so disappointed in my life. It was pathetic. So I actually put together, sorry, any 5e hands, but I put together what I'd want as an Abjurer. I want to be able to protect not just myself, but other people. And this is one of our spellcasters. We have Invoker, which is pew pew pew. That's what I'm playing in Jack's game. We've got
You've got the Abjurer, the Enchanter.
We got the Invoker, the Enchanter. They're very good. And the Summoner. The Summoner's fantastic. You can summon things and it's brilliant. So we've got the 4 classes. And then we've got the Arcanist. And the Arcanist can basically do a combination of all of those. And the wonderful joy is that, say if I'm an Abjurer, I can't take Invocation. So you've got some restrictions there. So it's your style of how you actually want to play your spellcaster. So you start off and you get your spell points equal to 3 plus half your intelligence modifier. Remembering that you always have a positive intelligence modifier means you start with a juicy number of spell points. You can get bonus features to increase that, which is very nice as well.
Yeah.
Then, would you care to scroll down a little bit, please?
Scroll down to...
Scroll down, 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 down. Stop. So this is quite nice. So first level, you have all your universal spells, which you have access to. And then you can then have 2 plus your intelligence modifier to add to your spell book. These are spells you know. So if you've got, for example, 7 spell points and you've got 8 spells that you've memorized, then not memorized, that you know, you can
that
use
in your spell book.
In your spell book, that's the ones you know. Essentially, you can use them at any point. So that's great. At the end of a combat, your spell points come back, and that is absolutely key. We've also got meta magic bonus features that you can apply. So these are bonus features you can take as part of building your character and as part of leveling, and then you can apply those to your spells as well. So when you're casting, you could potentially make them go further, you could make your explosions bigger. And some of the ones that I really like is you can convert your elements. So one of the characters that I had before, she used to convert all of her fireballs to ice balls, and it was all ice based. So you can do all of this sort of stuff dependent on what you have. So yeah, spell casting is really good and it's really enjoyable. And I love playing a spellcaster. And I will talk about it for the next 5 hours if Dean doesn't shut me up.
Yes. So I will quick fire some of the questions here. I've been making a long note. Thanks so much for all your questions. I'm just going to cover this one, Cyrus. PvP, it comes down to the table. If the table wants to encourage that, absolutely, the system supports it. If they don't want to have it, so typically, I will shy away from PvP. I don't like players having a go at each other around the table, because that can
mention
often,
all the times that's happened in some of our
it can
previous
boil over
games.
to become personal, and
Yes,
you're there as a group, you're a party. Untold Destiny is built around cooperating as a group
Heroes.
to survive and being heroes. But if you've got a table and you love your PvP and you want to use Untold Destiny, do you know what? I think it would be perfect for PvP. I think you could have a lot of fun with that. So we have taken the playtest all the way to 20th level. Does the game shift in focus after a certain point? It can do. And the focus will be on we're not going out and adventuring as much, but we're now guardians of domains and we're attracting followers and we're doing that. So our monster manual is called Adversaries and Allies because it's all about the people you will go up against, the creatures, the mythical beings, dragons, stuff like that. And it's all about your allies, how you can recruit henchmen, have followers, and stuff like that, and how all of that works together. So yes, the style of campaign, it's not prescriptive because again, some tables will prefer to keep high level play in a certain style. Maybe they don't want to have the complexity of domain play around their table. And others will be like, you're around about 10th, 11th level. You're now focusing on building strongholds and claiming a part of that land, and you're becoming more political and less dungeoneering. What you will not get, and it's purely because it just gets a bit silly, you will not get to go plane hopping and meet the gods and start to do all of that stuff. Um, I found it was more in second edition. We started to play Planescape, and at that
I
point,
loved Planescape.
Planescape as a concept is amazing. It was
Oh,
very
it's
different.
brilliant.
The problem it had is the players were no longer invested in an individual world. So for the players that came from Toril, the Forgotten Realms, the moment they got introduced to the planes and all these multiverses and prime material worlds and stuff like that, Toril became insignificant. If Toril disappeared overnight, they wouldn't care. And I wanted to keep a more
Dickhead.
Tolkien approach to the style of the game. So this is more about you. It's the world you're in. There are gods. There are domains beyond in the Aether, but the only way you're going to visit them is when you die. And yeah, we just wanted to steer away from that.
I quite
Yeah.
like that one. Their mechanics, do they still work if you wander into a dungeon as like demigods say, sort of I'm assuming around 20th level, because at 20th level you are allowed to ascend. So you're allowed to join into the Aether. And you can choose at any point once you've hit 20th level, and is it 100 legends?
Yes, I got the Ascension on.
No,
In fact, let me
20
find
yeah, it's 100
20th
legends.
level. Yeah, I'm just going to find a better laid out Ascension where it's all on one. Here we go. Perfect.
There we go. So yes, when you actually reach 20th, at any point you can decide to ascend. So you can do it upon death, or you can decide that you have done with this mortal life and you can ascend, but you have to have at least 100 legends. And it's our way of showing that you can choose to um, join with the Aether and to become a guide to future generations. I like to think about it similar to Stargate. I hate to say it, but I always used to love that in Stargate. So even though this isn't Stargate's Ascension, it does give that sort of feel. Obviously, you're not adventuring once you ascend. You are now more of a god. But that is
Or a
something that,
powerful entity or a
yeah,
nature spirit that wanders the verdant wilderness.
yeah. So at that point, you are becoming someone who will guide other people. So that's great. But when you're sort of, say, for example, you've not got your 100 legends, you don't want to ascend, and you're wandering into a dungeon, it's still dangerous, right? And that's because of the way that Dean's designed the math. Instead of having this ridiculous sort of curve where it just becomes, you just trounce everything,
Yeah,
or
creatures need
things are
to roll
just,
natural 20s to hit
yeah,
you, and you can't miss them, and their damage is so pitiful, and your damage is so big.
yeah,
Yeah, the
goblins can still hurt.
goblins
You get
can,
enough of
especially in
them.
numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's the beauty of the system, is it is balanced beautifully. And balanced is actually the wrong word. It is scaled beautifully to take you up those levels because we wanted to play those levels, and that's why we tested it at a high level, because we like playing high level.
Yeah.
And I'm fed up of getting really annoyed at my character at nights, and because it's just going nowhere and it's sort of flat.
Yeah. The one
Um,
thing I always wanted to achieve is, and it's the one thing that annoyed me with previous games that I would run, which is you start the adventure, the party are going out, there's momentum, the story's driving forward, and then it grinds to a halt because someone goes, "I'm out of spells, I need to rest,"
oh
or
god, yeah.
"Yeah, I'm getting low on hit points, we got no healing, we need to rest," and it just got in the way of what I felt was a natural. Can you imagine Lord of the Rings if the moment they got out of Moria, you know, it wasn't pick 'em up, let's get to Lothlorien. It was, oh, can we take a short rest? I'm out of my spell points. You know, it just it felt like it
Jarring.
clashed with yeah, being able to. It clashed with keeping the adventuring day going. Um, so through all of this, we've tried to make sure that if you've got one combat encounter, that's fine. If you've got 10 combat encounters, they're fine. You're going in with everything at your disposal in each and every one of them. It's not like 5e where you can blow daily abilities, you know, the once per day abilities and become far more powerful and then have to rest because you've used all your resources. Each battle, um, and I use the word balanced. It's probably wrong because the battles themselves might not be balanced at all against your power level. But each battle you go into, what you have at your disposal is the same. It's not like you've used resources, with one exception. It's not like you've used resources and you're going in weaker and you need to rest. So we found actually playing and running games, it's such a natural feel to the story. The story just keeps going until you run out of time or it becomes natural to find a point to rest. And I think that's probably the biggest. You know, we're talking about dungeoneering at high levels and stuff like that. That doesn't change at high levels, and I think that's yeah. I,
So a couple of ones around spells I'm just going to pick up.
yeah.
Um, so how do you actually have all your spells? How do you fit them onto the sheet and work in game mechanically? So so this is quite interesting because there's a difference between if I play on Roll20 or if I play round the table. If I play round the table, we basically I have them on the side and I basically just have them there. I just basically scroll through, not scroll, that's the wrong word, flick, because I always print stuff out. I've got some of them out, I print them out, and I basically look at them and just grab. It is literally normally a couple of pages of spell information, or you could do it in a little table. So in the back of us on our character sheet, we've got a little table where you can just scribble down the important stuff from your spells, and that works really well. Yeah, there's always got to have
Nice.
second breakfast.
Absolutely.
So that works quite well. Roll20, we've got somewhere where you can just put all your spells on and it'll just roll it. You can just click on the button and it'll roll it for you, and that works really nicely. So spells do work in the fact that you can fit it onto your sheet and you can just use it as reference. So that works quite nicely. Learning spells in game, you get two spells that you can learn every level,
As a
which is really
wizard,
nice as a wizard. I can't remember what clerics get. I don't play those.
I'll cover clerics after.
So you get two spells. If you find scrolls, you can learn them as you are traveling. And if memory serves, this is a test now of whether or not I know my own rules. It's a spellcraft roll to actually learn your spells. I'm right.
Yes.
There we go. So spellcraft, and then you know it.
Mm.
It's that easy. Um, so so yes, if you pick up someone else's spell book, and you are allowed to, and you can read it, you can learn those spells. It's great.
Yes, so priests work slightly differently. And if I just go to spell specs, I'm going
They
to
have
share
to
this
have their
again.
gods.
Yes. So priests obviously get their power from their deity, their god. If I just hide that. So priests have spell spheres. So these are spheres of power. They come from the aether. A god will set up its domain in one of these areas and have access to some of the neighboring spheres, and you can draw your power from there. So typically, if you are a nature god, you will have access to more the elemental based spheres. Whereas as a kind of a holy god, it'll be probably radiant and potentially fire. Steel, I believe, is another one, which is all about defense. But these spell spheres give you access to spells. So as you can see under Ash, you got Hobble, tier 1, tier 2, Blinding, Rot, and Slow. If you had access to that spell sphere and you had access to tier 2 magics, so you could cast them, you get all of them in the spell spheres, you know. So as a priest, you don't have to pick and choose. You don't have to decide what you got memorized that day. You gain access to all the magics available in the spell spheres. The bad side is you get a fraction of access to a fraction of the priest spells, because you'll end up with 4, maybe 5 spheres of magic, and there are a lot. I think there's what, 9, 10, 11. So the 4, 8, 12, 13, 14 spell spheres. So you get
You're
access to a
showing
small
off with
number
your
of spells.
maths and counting again, aren't you?
I am. But as you can see, things like cadence is all your voice stuff. So commanding voice, friends, hamper foe. Dust is part going down into the negative side of Aether, and it's more of your damaging, inflicting wounds. Earth is a great one. You can absorb acid. You've got acid orbs, acid splash, stuff like that. We've gone to great lengths to make sure that there is a theme running through everything, and you will see these themes repeated. So for example, if you're attacking a summoned creature, they come from the aether damage is far less effective against them. But if you're attacking an elemental, it is an earth elemental, don't hit it with acid. The acid will just splash against the rock. It won't do any damage. But blasting it with lightning, not lightning, lightning, blasting it with lightning will deal more damage typically. And we brought this theme through in the way the weapons work. So weapons have properties like a hack property or a reach property, and certain creatures are vulnerable to certain damage types and certain weapons. So you deal more damage against them. The classic one being, if your weapon has reach and you're up against a large creature, most large creatures, not all, you will deal an extra d10 damage. And this is great. We watched the Fellowship of the Ring recently again, and there's the bit where they're fighting the cave troll, and they use long spears. They pick up long spears in the room, and they're using them to stab up at the troll. And that's the idea of a reach weapon. It allows you to strike through the creature's armor at the weaker points of the creature because it's got that reach. And this provides an incredible thematic feel, where when you're attacking something, you're not just thinking, what have I got at my disposal? I'm going to take the biggest damaging weapon I got. You're actually thinking smart. What spells will be most effective? What weapons will be most effective? So that covers a bit of spell casting there, I think. It kind of moved into weapons as well.
Yeah, no, you're
I know, I
your
do. I go
weapons.
wandering all over the place.
You go, yeah, you're like one of those wandering monsters around the dungeons.
I'm going to quickly cover this. There will be 8 pre-gen characters in the adventure you can play, and they will be a human master at arms, human paladin, human dungeoneer. That's one of the rogues. An elf ranger, a Mathor cleric of Seraphina, the goddess of battle, a dwarf cleric of Hrothgar, a gnome invoker, and an elf abjurer. There we go.
So there was another so are there spell restore potions?
No.
So no. However,
No. There are no healing potions either.
There's no healing potions either. However, I'm going to say this, however, what you can do as a spellcaster, and this goes across both clerics and wizards, I believe. And see, I never play clerics, so I always say, I think clerics. what you can do is you can actually center. So, for example, yesterday, when I ran out of spell points, I could have centered, and that would have given me back a spell point. You can get a bonus feature called improved centering, and that would give you, if you've got that, you'd get back 2 spell points. So even during the battle, you can actually recoup your spell points. And then, of course, at the end of the battle, because they all refresh, that works. It basically means you can go into your next one with all of your spell points. So you're not like using all your spells and then you can't continue adventuring.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
This is a good one, and the closest
Yes.
mechanic we have. So you would have seen us reference legend before. 100 legend you need by the time you reach level 20 to have a chance of your spirit ascending itself and becoming aware of the circle of life it's been on. Legend is earned by doing mighty deeds that typically aid other people. So, for example, in Jack's game, they came to Longreach. They defended Longreach against orcs. It was a challenge that was above their level, and they earned 3 legend because of that. So their legend begins to grow. When they reach 10 legend, they will be considered as local heroes to the areas that they've earned that legend. So their renown begins to grow. More importantly, the party pooled their legend, and I get the average of that. And when that reaches 10, they are now a company. So they form a bigger bond, and they get a threat token that can be spent throughout the day. Only once for each rest. So this is the one area where I've said everything comes back. You've always got your stuff. There are 2 things that don't come back. If you're wounded in combat, you retain those wounds until they are healed. And when you get your 5th wound, your character is dead. There is no coming back. That's it. Done. So you got to be very careful. The wounds don't disappear. You got to rest. You got to have long-term care, stuff like that. And the second one are fate points and party threat tokens. And fate points are your way, because you are paragons. A fate point is just to eliminate certain really unlucky rolls. And it allows you to completely re-roll any set of dice. And this could be damage. I've seen it being used on damage, or a saving throw, or an attack roll, or a skill test. So long as whatever you're re-rolling is something that happened quickly. So you couldn't do it on a task that took all day, like crafting. And once spent, they only come back after you've had a rest. So there we go. Retirement. Yes, you can retire. And your legend, if you retire in a way that's really, it's meaningful, it has a lot of emotion attached to it, and the GM is like, that was fantastic. They can transfer your entire legend to your next character. So you're passing your legend and your status to the next character you create. It does mean when you create that character, you've got to be very inventive, and you got to create the backstory of how did they earn their name and how did they become a legend. If you lose a character, short of it being incredibly heroic, only half the legend will go across to your new character. If you're playing the gritty low fantasy, none of the legend goes across. If you lose a character, legend goes with that character. And then it's up to you. Do you come back at first, or do you come back at the average level of the party and fall behind on legend? There we go. I think we did.
How did we come up with the name Untold Destiny, Dean?
That was so we got a good friend called Ian, and Ian did the character sheets on Roll20. He's absolutely fantastic at doing that. And we were just going back and forth on names, and we were coming up with just
Stupid ones.
It was some stupid ones, and some, it was one of those things where you're just bouncing ideas. And then he just said, how about, because we were looking at Untold Tales, or your Destiny, and around
Destiny,
there.
we went through everything, didn't we?
Weird stuff. And he just went Untold Destiny, and
and we looked at each other,
yeah,
didn't we? We went, yeah,
that's it. That's it. Your destiny's untold. The reason you're at the table and you're playing is because you want your destiny to be told. So yeah, that's how we came up with it.
Unless you look at the advert that our marketing guy that we took on for a while sent out during one of our things, and he
Oh,
said, "Your destiny was unfolded."
yes, it was unfolded. It was like, oh, really?
Really?
So this is a great question, which is so I've always loved summons, and I have not found a system short of the one that we got here that does summons in a way that I think is balanced and feels right. We support the mounts, summoned, and a henchman in a way that for action economy, it takes your swift action to command them and some stamina, so a point of stamina. So this means they're not an extra body on the field that has a whole set of extra actions. It costs
May, may,
you a
I,
little
may,
bit.
may I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Are you actually answering the question that you've put on the screen?
Promote more characters. Oh, hang on. I might be
You're
misinterpreting that
not.
question. I thought it was just promoting more characters per player. I forgot to read the rest.
Look at this reading. It's a skill,
Yes.
don't you know, that us role players
Oh,
generally need.
it's late. And yes, my eyes. So a mechanic that might promote more characters per player. Ah, right. Okay. Do you know what? I
I,
think
I,
that comes back to the table.
but that also, and I'm gonna pick you up on something that you've actually done with us in the past, where we've actually taken on, we've actually had a hired adventuring parties to do other things, and we've run those whilst we're doing this. We've got them doing that. I actually really like that mechanic that might promote more characters per player and things that you've got your NPCs, because you actually created that as a whole separate mechanic. And remember, you said you were going to release it with Untold Destiny because it just needs a few tweaks.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it does. In fact, during the last campaign that we ran, the party had to do a number of things. Teleportation wasn't working because I hate teleportation. It's gay. It's world
you
breaking.
won't let me teleport
Yes. So
or have wish.
when it came to achieving objectives, there were objectives in two areas around the world, and the party couldn't do both. So they hired adventurers, and I came up with this fantastic system where
It was
I could put
brilliant.
together a quest line with different challenges. They then had to assemble an adventuring crew with different abilities, and then at the beginning of every game month, I would sit down and go, right, let's see how your adventurers are doing as they did each of the stages of this quest. And I think that was really entertaining, wasn't it? Because they got into trouble at one point. It was really close, and then they clinched it at the end. And I
It's
think
close.
it got to the point where you actually went out to meet them because they just got so delayed in what they were doing. Yeah.
Um, I I think this is a fantastic question. How and or will you allow third party content? Um, that's where we are going to have you always remember the license name is the open.
The OG, it's not the OGL, it's the other one. Creative
Oh,
Commons.
Creative
Creative
Commons.
Commons.
Yeah, we're going to have a Creative Commons license. That's the words I couldn't remember. It is almost midnight for us. We're going to have a Creative Commons license. Basically, if you create third party content and you create it using our rules, good on you. You have our absolute full support, and we will quite happily shout about it. We will love people wanting to create things for us with using our system and our
Yeah.
rules.
Yeah.
This is our gift back to the community, and we've said that from day one.
Yeah.
We even said that when we were stood in the NEC at UK Games Expo, and we got asked a very similar question, and we said, yeah, if people want to create for the system, then they're welcome to do so, and you're not going to have us going, oh, but you can't do this and you can't do that. Absolutely, we want people to create.
Yeah. Definitely. So it'll be a sanitized version. In other words, all the Kaseya stuff taken out. That would be copyright to us, but you'll have it all nicely done. The way the system's designed, before I come on to races, it's very modular based. So it is designed to be, you can add your options, you can customize your options very, very easily. Um, the core rules remain static. They are what they are, but everything that forms part of your options as a player is very modular. So your heritages, your families, your backgrounds, your classes, the way the spells are done, bonus features. So you are free to add or take away as you want. Races, we have 5 races, and we call them races because they come from humans originally. So every one of the 5 races used to be human, but over time they have evolved, adjusted, been genetically altered, whatever it is, and have formed the races that are now dwarf, elf, gnome, human, and Maythor. So you will note we got gnomes, but we don't have halflings or hobbits.
Our gnomes are not, big bulbous noses, short. They're shorter than humans, but they've actually got no hair. And what they tend to have is they tend to have tattoos across their skulls, that reflect their status in their society. So our gnomes are actually normally very clever. They tend to veer towards spell casting or learning and things like that. So yes, definitely not garden gnomes. So
Definitely
yeah.
not. No, no. Oh, God. Right, go to the corner. um, yes, I never liked the idea of the kind of garden gnome approach, and I did some research into the origin of gnomes. And gnomes were always this highly intelligent race, and I wanted to go back to that. The lack of hair, the sort of elongated, bulbous head, indicating their incredible intelligence. They're not great when it comes to combat, and they have bonded with the Maythor, which are they very big structured sort of bone plating around them. When you put armor, when they wear armor, the armor just kind of snugly fits, and they can move around in their armor without hindrance and stuff like that. So Maythor very much built for combat, gnomes very much built for knowledge and research, and the two coexist with each other. They're very the two races are typically found with each other. One providing the muscle, one providing the knowledge and intelligence.
Ooh, I'm going to answer this one. What is
Which
the
one?
base world's law? Let's get that one out.
Oh, that's a long one. There we go.
Buttons. So, base world law, we have a world called Kaseya. Now, we have got an exceedingly long history, of which I'm not going to share with you because that long history is lost. And what we have now is there was something called the Ashfall. Now, what you've got to remember when I say long history, this actually started out as a sci-fi. So when I talk about Dean's 20 odd, this is the reason why. So it started off as a sci-fi, but what we did is because we love things like Tolkien, magicians, stuff like that. We wanted fantasy. So what we've decided is there is a point in time where we have the Ashfall. All we know is that the third moon shone brighter than the sun. Every piece of technology was destroyed. Anyone close to that technology, I just seen George's bum over the side. Everyone close to technology basically died. Aether ripped through the world, and as it did so, essentially, creatures changed, animals changed, everything became dangerous. So there were tiny pockets of survivors, and I mean tiny. And that's what we have with Untold Destiny. Untold Destiny is set 800 years after the Ashfall. And what you have, the survivors have started building communities. We've got somewhere called Harbour, the Harbour Protectorate. Oh, this would be a good one for me to actually share. But oh, you've got it up. No,
I
that's
have,
your
but
map.
it's that's.
No,
Do you
it's
want to
your map.
share your map?
I'm going to share my map. My
You
share.
share. Mine's yeah.
My share.
That's my work in progress
Share.
map, but a lot more detailed. Are you sharing Jamie's map?
Yes, if I can actually. Where's my thingy's gone? Church keyboard interface issue. There it is.
To quickly answer whilst you're getting your map, yes, we will be having a sci-fi version in the future.
Especially since we've got lots of art for it.
Yeah.
Already. So yes, so what we've got is we've got a whole world of Kasei. We've actually designed the whole world at a very high level. But what we did is for our starter area, we've actually zoomed in onto one side, and it is basically a very small piece, but I think it works out at 625,000 square miles of adventuring space for you to start off in. And this is the Harbour Protectorate. So there is within the Barros Mountains near Mount Hybra, there has been a city that has grown within the mountains themselves. This city is called Harbour, and it became the sort of center point for everything because it was one of the safest places for survivors, and therefore it grew. Now, out of that area, different settlements have set up. So you will see on our map that we've got a lot of other sort of areas. For example, we have got Linchet, and we have got Swanton, and we've even got Medway. Medway's fantastic. It's in the middle of a lava flow, and it's very renowned for the forges. So we've got all of this sort of stuff. It's all built up. But the whole point about Untold Destiny and the reason you want to go adventuring is because it's very dangerous. Your civilization is under constant threat. You are trying to carve out its points of light setting. Dean, do you think I've covered off the majority of it there?
I think you have. The one thing we did do was so don't think you're going to come in and there's going to be the sci-fi kind of flavor flung in. Um,
We
when the
changed that, didn't
ashfall,
we?
yeah, when the ashfall happened, the empires that existed on Kaseya were using. Did you want this added as well? Yeah.
Yes, please, if you could.
Um, they were very much experimenting with Aether. They were building magical kingdoms. They were expanding to incredible lengths. They were doing most incredible things with Aether. So they were incredibly powerful magical empires. So the technology is very much downplayed. This is a fantasy game. So any reference to what came before describes them as being these magical, powerful empires. In reality, they were using technology, they were using all of this, but that's not going to come into play until the next game we do, which is going to be, I think it's Origins. It's going to be Untold Destiny
Until Destiny Origins.
Yeah, and that'll be the sci-fi version telling the story of humanity leaving Earth and heading into the stars.
So the piece that I've got on screen at the moment is a piece of artwork. It's by Luke Eidenschenk, that he did for us, and I just love his work. It's fantastic. But one of the things I'd like to highlight is you've got like the walls that they've obviously had to build up. It's within a cavern, so this is a cavern deep in the mountain. And if you have a look at that dome, it doesn't quite look as if it fits. And the reason for that is that Harbour was actually they were Harbour was set up where they were building a geothermal station at the time, but it wasn't online. None of the technology was working, but it gave the people who were managed to get there or who were there already and working on it, it gave them a place of safety. So you can actually see that sort of dome within the caverns where they were actually building that. So we have got that flavour throughout. And I'm also going to stop that one. I'm going to show another bit of our flavour for Kaseya, because I like showing some of the stuff that our guys did.
And Paddy's also asked a very good question there about how well will it work with Roll20 out the box. So whilst you're getting your artwork, the work that our mate Ian's done, he's created a character sheet. So we will have the HTML code and the style sheet for that freely available. So you just need to import it into your adventure, and that gives you a working character sheet. What I can do is, once we've done this, I'll bring it up on Roll20 quickly, and we will quickly show it off. It's big because I say it's big. It's better if you detach it, because it takes up a lot of space because it hasn't gone through a refinement process. We were talking to people who do development on Roll20, and we were getting quotes between what, $15,000 to $50,000 to do this work, and there's no way we can afford this. Whereas Ian,
like this,
he did it
we're
for
spending
free.
money on artwork at the moment, and that's expensive enough. Ian's actually done an amazing job. It is absolutely superb. It's usable. I can read it. I can use it. The buttons work. We occasionally find the odd bug, but that gets fixed fairly quickly. So by the time it's been thoroughly tested, at the moment we're taking it through thorough testing, and it works really well. So this is an example of sort of a city that was destroyed, and what you've got is rock has actually formed on the outside of the frameworks of some of the buildings that are left, and this is some of the sort of ruins that you've got within Kaseya. Again, no technology will work, so you're not exactly going to go and find a computer or anything like that. So you've got this sort of, there's something that was there before, but it means nothing to the people who are on Kaseya now. They don't even understand their origins. They just
But you may find magical artifacts still within there, the result of experiments and stuff like
from
that.
the Aether, yes.
Yeah. So,
but you're not going to find a computer.
No, you're not. You're not going to find any technology. These will be ancient ruins from an ancient civilization that died out during the Ashfall. But the cities they built, they went to the skies, and impressive, very impressive. So we got a rich history around Kaseya, as I said, Point of Light campaign, and I actually really enjoy running in there because we don't have teleportation, we don't have instant communication or anything like this. So when you're running an adventure, and so the way I approach this is the players will be in an area, and I decide what trouble's happening in that area, what will happen if the players do nothing. And then they kind of get a little bit involved, and then it's up to them to start to do something if they want to, and then I adjust the story based on what they're doing, and that works really well. They can't go running off because and try and get help, because often they're the only people there who can do something about it. So right now, Jack, Brass, and Vicky, they're heading up into the Barrows Mountains, having gone through an ancient barrow in pursuit of a one-eyed orc and this strange elf who have kidnapped a gnome from Longreach. And I didn't have to ask them to do that. Didn't have to coerce them with their background stories and stuff like that. They all just jumped at that, wanting to do it. So yeah, it's a good story. What I'm going to do is quickly share, because I know time is. So this is Roll20, and this is the character sheet in Roll20. So it's Vicky's character here. So I'll be very careful, but it works just like
delete it.
The paper one, where you can click your buttons and take them off. You can click your focus, become mastered, take it off, and if you click that button, it asks you for your boons and banes. And then I'll show you here. It then rolls and shows you what.
If you go down, scrolly down.
Oh yes, you got all your spells. So we got this custom area where you can add any of the sort of custom stuff. So this is great for putting your spells and things like that. You can see you just put the standard roll format in there. So 3d20, keep highest 1 plus 7, which is the plus 7 coming from intelligence. Well, you got your modifier 4 for intelligence is wrong.
That's because you
Oh no,
pressed
that's
something. You've
I've
poked
not
my
touched
sheet.
I've not touched anything here. Your
He's poked
intelligence.
my sheet.
I have
He's
not poked
poked
your
my
sheet.
sheet.
I have not
He's
poked your
poked it.
sheet. This is your intelligence is wrong. Anyway,
You've touched it.
I've not touched anything. So
He's touched it.
these character sheets are in here. You got abilities. So this is where any abilities like you put your spells in here, have you? Hang on.
Yes.
Hang on.
This is an old. You've bought
Have I brought up a really old character sheet here?
a really old character sheet there.
Because this looks like a lot of Jack stuff, nature stealth and stuff like that in here. Anyway, we got these character sheets. You can fill in your races, your heritages, stuff like that. So it all works really, really well.
It's not in Jack. It's the old character that I did.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know what this is.
What have you done?
I'm not in Jack's game. I'm in the Sunday game. So we were looking at a different character there. But there we go. So the character sheets.
So my low intelligence for the fact that I'm playing a paladin in that game.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. Yeah. Shall we try that again? Do you want to show it? Show my character.
That's where the party are currently. So
Yeah.
if I show the character
my
again, this is a paladin.
It's a paladin, not a spellcaster.
Yeah, so you can see the weapon skills around there. Pretty
That's
good.
why, but of course, my paladin does have some spells.
Yeah.
I do like my paladin. Paladin's cool.
Oh, I is not your paladin. This is Emily's character. Sorry, your paladin is. There's your paladin.
Oh, of course.
There we go.
It's because my character in the other game's called Ava. You know something?
And there's your spell.
This is why I'm only good when I've got one character at a time.
Yeah. Anyway, so all of that code will be available so that you can uplift it into your Roll20 project and have
could you do me a favor?
That work. Yeah.
Can you actually show it rolling, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because it's cool.
So
my character.
I'll use your character. I'll go down to your attacks. So you're using a long sword.
Yeah.
It's a normal attack. And there you go. Just rolls the dice, tells you what you got, tells you your total. And then I've got these down here. So if, for example,
roll my damage.
You were attacking one of my crystal lizards. I don't want to give away what's coming up. And it was attempting to parry. It needs a 26 or higher. It only got a 17. You hit. So now you can do damage.
Roll my damage.
No additional d10s. And you only did 8 damage. That's pitiful damage. That's terrible.
Well, you didn't spend stamina for my holy strike. You're rubbish at running my paladin.
There we go. 13 damage this time. Yeah.
There you go. So I don't cheat. It's terrible. Right. Do they cast with click? Yes. What are our plans? Assuming huge success, that would be nice. With future products, what will our focus be? Adventures, setting, new mechanics, or will you leave this mostly to third parties? So we have a plan. We do have a plan.
We do.
So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the adventure that we're doing at the moment. We want to get to the point where we can release the books. The biggest challenge we have around the books right now is we have to finish the editing, but we need to afford the rest of the artwork. So that's when we're looking at a Kickstarter. Okay. From that point on, now the actual map we've done for the whole of Kaseya is really big. And what we would like to do, and the plan moving forward, is we're going to release adventures. So we're looking at releasing about 2 adventures a year. And as we do so, fill out the map of Kaseya. So what we'll do is, once we've covered off some adventures around this area, when we're moving out towards the rest of the map, which is humongous, we'll be filling them in gradually. And what we'll do then is we'll release supplement books that are covering those areas. So we're not looking at doing we're going to completely change the mechanics and we're going to do like a second edition of Untold Destiny. That's not in the plans. The plan is we will give you more places that you can adventure. We will give you more heritages, more families, more things that you can use so you can create the characters that you want. I mean, we're already starting off with a lot of heritages, families, etc., to build a real character for yourself. And we'll be going into character creation next week. So the aim will be to do that. Once we've got that going nicely, then we will be looking at releasing Untold Destiny Origins, which is our science fiction version, which takes place in Kaseya way before the Ashfall. So that you've got sort of beginnings and then you've got the fantasy version, which is the end. New monsters. Oh,
Oh,
I'm going to
lots
answer
of
that
new
one in a
monsters.
hope we've got lots of new monsters. So yes, we've got plans. We've got lots of plans. All of this is down to, at the moment, I work full time, and Dean works on the game full time, and then I work on the game on weekends and around my job. You know, we would love to be in the position where we can both be full time. Don't tell my boss that. Um, and that would be the dream. But we do what we have to do in order to get there. And this has been a dream of ours for eons. We've been creating games and stuff like that since we first met. We've been playing since we first met. We've been, from Warcry Battle Die. Do you remember that one?
I do. I do. That I might actually get back round to completing that because that was good. But to round off the answer, when it comes to third
I sort of
parties,
wandered off, didn't I?
yeah, you did a me. When it comes to third parties, we will fully support third parties in
Absolutely.
using the rules to add to their creations. So, for example, I don't know whether Yang's still in the chat. Probably not. I know he's really busy. But his Empire: The Undying Sun, I can see our system working really well with that. He's focused on fifth ed and I think first edition. And I can see an Untold Destiny version within his setting working really well. So that might be
And yeah,
something we talk to him about in the future. But for now, we want to get the rules out there. We want to get people playing it and get a following, so we can then get it fully funded and yeah, and
if
have
you
merch. Yes.
yes, we've got to sort of, like, something, we've got to sort all of that out.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you about profit sharing. The way that we always saw, and the way we always saw it is because we would have an open license. The common license is, if you created something, you've created it. The fact is, if you're creating things and you're using our rule system, people will then, buy the rules. We
Yeah.
don't
But
they would
where
buy the main games. So
yeah.
so why am I going to worry if you're creating something for it? Surely that gets us further reach.
If there's close collaboration, so for example, we're putting a lot of effort in alongside
Yeah,
the
that's
creator,
different.
then that's a commercial discussion you have at that point, and it's based on who's putting the most effort in and stuff like that. Like any commercial discussion, you've got to reach a point. It's going to be a lot of compromise, and you reach a point where all the parties win, and all the
Yeah,
parties feel that they're not being dicked over,
we're
and that
not.
would be what we go in with, is to make sure
I
everybody's a
want the
winner
game out
in
there.
that
You want the
arrangement.
game out there. We want it to be fair.
Mm.
We're about. We've been working with people for. We want things to go well, and we want people to want to play. What do you think about conversion
Mm,
guides?
that is very interesting. Um, I haven't really thought about that yet. Um,
No, that's
I
something we will think
Yeah,
about.
when I put my head towards the Games Master's Grimoire, the GMG, I think
Yeah,
that's
we
when
could
I'll
put a
start to
section
think
in
of that.
there.
Yeah, and talk about, okay, you want to convert creatures from your favorite system or setting, and give the guidelines in there. But you're absolutely right. Someone who knows the system, who knows the system they're coming from, who knows the Untold Destiny, I don't think they will struggle too much. And sorry, again, even the way creatures are put together, it's very modular, it's very straightforward. So creating or adapting creatures, you could pretty much take a first edition creature and pull it across. You could take a fifth edition creature, pull it across. I think you could even take, I'm just trying to think, potentially Rollmaster or RuneQuest or something like that, and potentially convert it across. Yeah. But that was an excellent question. Thank you, Paddy.
And because people have asked
Yeah.
about, I've done it again. I always do this.
I'm going to have you logged in as me, so you can manipulate the chat to your heart's content.
That sounds like I'm going to go and manipulate the chat over to be puppets. Okay, I'm a child. I can't help it. Right.
Sorry, I did miss one.
I'm sharing something. I'm sharing something. Okay. Allegedly sharing something.
I'm waiting for it to come through.
Sharing?
But we will need to be.
Share?
Let's add it
should
to
be
the
a
scene.
Yes.
Oh, that's Seracutus.
There we go. I can't pronounce it, and I want to see if Dean could manage it live.
Yes, I can. The Seracutus is the Roman god of agriculture and manure. So the Seracutus is a creature that devours human waste, or any waste in particular. But when it gets hungry, it gets incredibly cranky. And those 4 tentacles it's got there can lash out, grab you, and hoist you into the air. It has a nasty ability where if it's got someone in one of the tentacles and missile weapons like arrows or daggers or javelins are being thrown at it, it can bring the creature down. And so long as it successfully parries, that creature takes the damage instead. So it can use its captured opponents as shields against any missile fire. So these creatures are fantastic. They're really good. One may feature in the upcoming adventure.
And that piece of artwork is by Elsie Freitas. He's absolutely fantastic. He's doing some super pieces for us at the moment.
He's doing amazing stuff.
Yes, it does. It will smell absolutely awful.
Yes, it will. Right. It's midnight for us, and I know Vicky has an early start tomorrow. So I think I'm going to wind this down. Thank you so much for the support. I am absolutely bowled over by the support we've had tonight. I think it's just been a really good Q&A. We had a kind of agenda set up to talk through, but I think this has been far,
did I actually
far
forget
better.
about the agenda?
No, we've just been responding to all the questions, and I think that's been a great way to do this. Just so you know, we will, once we've discussed a few of the sort of mechanical stuff and built the groundwork, we will be having some guests come on and create characters live on the stream. So the chat will hopefully be able to get involved on that, but it will be showing creating a character live with someone who barely knows the rules. So hopefully it'll go smoothly, and I think we got a few people lined up for that.
Was it a nice surprise having you all on? Yes, because before you and I went, we probably won't have anybody.
Yeah, which is why we had an agenda in case no one turned up, and we could just go through it and record it, and it would be something that we could direct people to. Yeah,
I love having you guys here. So one of the things we will do is we will also ask for we will ask people if they want to just come on, and in order to we will teach you live on air to create a character, and then we will take you through a one shot. How does that sound? So yeah. I've already strong-armed one of you into it, and I would love for some others to come and join us. And what we'll do is we'll go through a bit at a time, create characters, and then you'll be able to take those characters off in a one shot. So I think next week we are actually going to walk through character creation, aren't we?
No, next week.
No. What was next week?
No. I there's some mechanical stuff we need to discuss next week, and I think it's important because, of course, the way we deal with stealth is very different.
Oh yeah, we never even talked about stealth.
We're not going to touch on it now, because if I start to go, I've employed what I consider to be a role-play stealth system. But I
Okay,
need to go into
so stop,
detail.
stop, stop, stop,
Yep,
stop.
I'm
Right, what we're
stopping.
doing
That's next time.
is next week. So next week on the show, what we're okay, I need sleep.
Mhm.
What we're going to do next week is we'll go through some of the sort of more around the skills and some of the nuances, things like the rogue skills. But I'd
Yep.
also like to talk a little bit about kits. I want to talk a little bit about, what
Item
happens
creation.
if you like blacksmithing. We'll go
Yeah.
into item creation, and I want to talk about downtime,
Mm.
stuff that you can do either when you're sort of stuck in the middle of nowhere and you're trying to camp, and things you can do then, and also what you can do if you're back in the city or town or village, and things that you can do there. So that's what we're going to try and cover next time, unless of course I completely forget and we do something totally different instead.
No, I've made a note. That's exactly what we'll be talking about next week. So thank you
You
so
think?
much. We really do appreciate you supporting us in the chat, and I feel so honored. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I can't tell you how sweet it is to see you all, and it makes us very happy indeed.
Yeah. Anyway, good night. I hope you all have a good night.
Thank you.